2025 is arguably the best year for open world games ever. I'm incredibly excited for so many of these games, so let's talk about them. First up, we've got Ghosts of Yotei. Releasing in 2025, this game takes place in the land surrounding Mount Yotei. That means this entry will take place in a new area with a brand new story, which makes perfect sense because Ghosts of Tsushima's story wrapped up nicely, and it'd be a shame to go in and undo all of that to create a sequel. Ghosts of Yotei takes place about 300 years after Ghosts of Tsushima in the 15th or 16th century Japan. This time around, you'll be able to dual wield weapons and use guns, which should definitely shake up the combat experience for returning players. If it's like the previous entry, it'll have multiplayer modes, including raids for players to take on. Sucker Punch says this will be their first built from the ground up PS5 game, which means it should pack some pretty gorgeous visuals and massive draw distances. And Ghost of Tsushima was already a beautiful game, so this one is set to look really impressive. These devs have proven they can make a fantastic game in this setting, and so this is definitely one to keep your eyes on. Next up, we've got Gears of War E-Day, releasing in 2025 and set 14 years before the events of the original game. E-Day is set to be released on PC and Xbox. This Gears of War takes place on E-Day, or Emergence Day, during which the Locust Horde emerge on the surface of Serra to begin their genocidal war against humanity, and follows Sergeant Marcus Phoenix and Corporal Dominic Santiago as they fight to save mankind. In this entry, these characters don't yet have 10 years of fighting Locust experience between them. They will instead be encountering them for the first time. This means they'll be discovering how to fight them, what works, what doesn't, as they try to comprehend the magnitude of what is happening. Beyond that, this will be the origin story for Marcus and Dom and their bond. These are the characters whose bond defined the franchise. This prequel aims to showcase how they became the characters that we know and love from the earlier entries. This is going to be a UE5 game, and the trailer is rendered in-engine, so it's fair to say that what you're seeing on screen right now is probably pretty close to what the game will look like. Next up, we have Crimson Desert by Pearl Abyss, coming to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation in late 2025. Crimson Desert is an upcoming open-world action-adventure game featuring non-linear gameplay. It is going to be a massive single-player game, and it's going to be gorgeous. The graphics really stand out on this one, and the combat looks to be satisfying as well. We see mounted combat, explosions, and beautiful landscapes. You can pick up quests from a quest board, interact with tons of NPCs. The game just looks massive and incredibly promising. It looks like you can even fish, and perhaps most interestingly, you'll be able to ride in a hot air balloon and tame wild horses. It looks like you'll face off against huge bosses and even be able to fly. There is just so much going on in this game. I'm really excited to learn more about it. If Pearl Abyss is able to deliver everything they're promising in these trailers, it could be one of the best games on this list. Next up, we have Mafia: The Old Country, coming to PC in summer of 2025. This entry into the popular franchise will focus on an all-new cast of characters with an all-new story. The game takes players into the crime world of 19th century Sicily, where the modern mafia began to take shape. Follow Enzo as he joins a family and rises through the ranks. Expect to have to make decisions with fatal consequences. The production value of this game looks impressive so far, and I'm expecting this to be an entertaining trip through the 1900s Italy. And don't forget, leave the gun and take the cannoli.
Leave the gun. Take the cream soda.
Next up, we've got Dying Light: The Beast. This one's coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox in the summer of 2025. In this game, you'll parkour through a massive open world filled with zombie-esque creatures and enemies. You'll also have a vehicle, but it sounds like fuel for this vehicle may be hard to come by, so don't expect to be able to use it all the time. This takes place right after Dying Light 2 and brings back the protagonist from the original Dying Light. It was originally planned as a DLC for Dying Light 2, but the scope grew so large they decided to create a full standalone title. The protagonist will be able to take on a beast form, hence the name, providing the protagonist with substantial new powers. The world will once again be filled with environmental puzzles that will require your adept parkouring abilities to solve and traverse. If you weren't satisfied with the gunplay of the previous entries, you'll be happy to know that they've tried to improve it significantly, giving players the ability to down enemies from range better than ever before. If you'd like, you can play the game solo or in 4-player co-op. So if you're in the mood to go full beast mode and rip off heads of zombies, this could be a fun game for you. Next up, one of the ones I'm personally most excited about is Exodus. This one coming from Archetype Entertainment to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation in late 2025. This video game is being headed by some devs that were part of the Mass Effect Golden Age at BioWare. This game has an epic premise. Having fled a dying Earth, humanity has found a new home in a hostile galaxy. Here, we are the underdogs, fighting our final battle for survival. You are a traveler, humanity's last hope. On your quest to save humanity, you'll be able to use time dilation to your advantage or your detriment as you navigate the game's story. It sounds like this is a game where your decisions will have serious consequences, so choose wisely. Pulling out all of the stops, Matthew McConaughey even stars in the game. The sci-fi nerd in me is super excited for this one. It's being called Mass Effect's true successor, and really that's all I needed to hear to be on board for this open world game. The developer says the goal is simple: to deliver the next generation of amazing sci-fi RPGs, and we really need that. Are you ready to bear the weight of the world's survival on your shoulders? If so, get ready for this massive release. Now, today's sponsor is actually really unique. It's a state-of-the-art mobile app that can 3D scan you into it and create a personalized 3D avatar that you can use inside of games, augmented reality, or simply as a form of digital self-expression. Using the app is super easy. You take a selfie and the app creates your 3D avatar. The creative possibilities are endless. This app gives you full creative control of your avatar's appearance. Go for something cool or go for something else. Either way, this app is going to be great for some laughs with your friends. Hang out with your avatar in real life or jump into a game with them using the app's built-in Games Hub, where you can play, compete, and evolve your 3D avatar. Choose between games like Superhumans, Space Runner, or Penalty Kick. In Superhuman, you can level up your avatar and unlock really cool abilities. There are so many things you can do in this game and so many laughs to be had. You've got to check it out. Its only limitation is your imagination. So what are you waiting for? Bring on the laughs. Use my link in the description to download the app right now and see what your avatar can do. Next up, we have GTA 6. It feels like we've been talking about this one for 20 years. You've definitely heard of this one, and if you haven't, well, you're in for a treat. And definitely do yourself a favor and play through GTA 5 right now. As for the release date, fall of 2025 was reconfirmed during their earnings call. It's going to launch on PlayStation and Xbox first, with PC to come later. Again, sorry PC players. Grand Theft Auto 6 is an action-adventure game set in the fictional open-world state of Leonida, based on Florida, which includes Vice City, a fictionalized version of Miami. The story follows a criminal duo, Lucia, the series' first female protagonist since 2000, and her male partner. The first trailer depicts Lucia as a prison inmate and later evading custody with her partner, believed to be named Jason. This is being described as a Bonnie and Clyde story, a love-struck duo going out guns blazing. This game takes place in the same universe as GTA 5, with events that transpired in 5 being mentioned in 6. Expect much better graphics and a much wider array of NPC variety. Also expect a much wider array of wildlife as they call upon their experience with Red Dead Redemption 2. It looks like GTA 6 will have much more realistic inventory, as the weapon wheel doesn't appear to let you hold nearly as many weapons at once anymore. But ultimately, this is going to be the same Grand Theft Auto you love, just better in almost every single way. Are you ready for this one? Next up, we've got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This one comes out on February 4th, 2025. The thing that sets Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 apart from the other RPGs is how grounded in reality it is. For example, if you wait too long between bathing, your character will literally fail stealth attacks because the enemy will smell you approaching.
I can smell it from here.
You will slowly get dirty as you play, but you can get dirty faster by doing things like digging up a grave. This is a franchise that takes place in the medieval era, but does not have magic or dragons. So get ready to slay your enemies using weapons like your trusty sword, shield, or bow, whether on foot or on horseback. This game is a sequel to the original, which took place in 1403 Bohemia. So this sequel is to be a story-driven action RPG with a rich open world set in 15th century medieval Europe. You'll play as Henry of Skalitz, who's on a journey to avenge his murdered parents. Expect a great story and a memorable journey with this one. Another example of this game adhering to reality is when an NPC asks you to do a quest. If you don't head to him and do the quest when he tells you to, that quest will take place without you, and you won't be able to get the rewards from it. So if an NPC tells you to be somewhere at sunrise to do a quest, then you better be there. And if you enjoy being kept up to date on all the latest and greatest open world games, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Next up, we have Monster Hunter Wilds, easily one of the best games on this list. This one's coming out February 28th of 2025 from Capcom to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. This looks like it's going to be everything everyone has come to love about the Monster Hunter franchise. The world looks massive and bigger than ever before. You've got mounts that can run and even mounts that can glide. This game will be the beginning of the 6th generation of the franchise, which means it's likely to feature some solid evolution from the previous entry. The game features much higher monster density than previous entries have had. This is being built on Capcom's RE engine, and it's going going to be taking advantage of the advancements made to the engine provided by Dragon's Dogma 2. What does that mean for Monster Hunter Wilds performance? Time will tell, but so far from the beta test that we've been able to jump into, it's looking good. Monster Hunter World was Capcom's most successful game ever, so you can bet that Capcom is going to go big with Monster Hunter Wilds. This is one of my most anticipated games on this list, and I'll definitely be covering it on the channel when it drops. This next game sees you jumping into the game, falling from the sky before gliding into the position you want to start from. Meanwhile, a circle closes in around you, forcing you to keep moving and fighting your enemies. No, I'm not talking about Fortnite. I'm talking about the next iteration of Elden Ring. And if you're surprised by this setup, so am I. But if anyone can pull something like this off, it's FromSoft. So let's see how it goes. In this game, you don't create your character. Instead, you choose from 8 preset characters. You can play solo or with a group of 3. The game does not currently support 2-player games. In this game, you'll try to survive for 3 days, lasting 15 minutes each. Each time the night falls, the circle closes in. Bosses like Margit from Elden Ring can invade your game and try to hunt you. Of course, defeating them will reward you with loot. Every time night falls, you'll have to defeat a new boss. Your ultimate goal is to extract with as much loot as possible. If you die, you'll lose nearly all of what you've collected during that play session. And I'm sad to report that you'll no longer be able to leave or find messages on the ground from other players. FromSoft hopes that Elden Ring NightReign will be a fun, fast, compressed Elden Ring experience. On one hand, this is a FromSoft game, and they don't ever make a bad game. On the other hand, it feels like someone in a suit asked what was popular and told the developers to include it in a quick standalone title. I have so many conflicting feelings about this one, but I'm hoping for the best because I'm a big fan of FromSoft. Next up, we've got Subnautica 2, coming out in 2025 to PC and Xbox for its early access. Then, if it's anything like Subnautica 1, it will release on PlayStation and Switch eventually as well. Subnautica 2 will be the first follow-up to the incredibly loved original of the same name. Subnautica 2 is an underwater survival game where you play alone or with friends as you explore alluring biomes and discover fascinating creatures. You'll craft vehicles, tools, and bases to survive this mysterious alien underwater world. This time, we've got some amazing changes coming to the game. And yes, you heard that right. One big one is that Subnautica 2 will allow you to play with up to 3 players. In Subnautica 2, you'll find yourself stranded on a planet rich in water. You'll have to survive by building underwater shelters and unlocking the technology that you'll need to escape this planet. Survival depends on utilizing the right tools alongside basic items such as your scanner and flashlight. You'll find recipes for more advanced tools, equipment, and submersibles. Bases are going to be more customizable this town with an overhauled building system. New tools are going to allow for greater adaptation to the world. This game is looking a lot like the first entry, which, given how popular the previous entry was, is probably the nicest thing I could say about it. Next up, we've got Atomfall, releasing in March of 2025 to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. This game's trailer gave me the vibes of, what if Bethesda decided to create the next Fallout, but in a modern engine? A nuclear disaster has left an area of Britain in tatters. You'll be able to explore the fictional quarantine zone, scavenge, craft, barter, fight, and talk your way through a British countryside setting filled with bizarre characters, mysticism, cults, and rogue government agencies. You'll explore and engage with many interwoven stories through exploration, dialogue, investigation, and combat, where your choices determine the outcome. Like any survival game, you'll need to scavenge for supplies, craft weapons and items, and fight desperately to make it out alive. Next up, we have the next entry into one of the most popular franchises ever, and that's going to be Fable, coming out in 2025 to PC and Xbox. The world is filled with stories of legendary heroes and treacherous villains, of fantastical creatures and wondrous places, where nature and magic live in perfect harmony. But not all stories have happy endings. And in Fable, yours has yet to be written. Fable 4, or Fable 2025, or whatever you want to call this reboot, is likely to follow in the footsteps of its predecessors, or at least we hope, which would mean that it would be an action RPG with tons of quests and a huge world to explore. Most of all, we'd hope that it would include the iconic morality system that the previous titles were known for. In previous entries, putting points into strength would make your character visibly buffer. Putting points into intelligence would give you a magical aura. And I'd love to see that kind of cosmetic character progression come back in this entry because it was so unique to the previous. And for those that aren't familiar with a franchise, quests would present you with a good or an evil way of solving them. As you played the game, if you made predominantly evil choices, your character would start to look more evil. Alternatively, predominantly good choices would make your character look more heroic. All of this combined with unique characters made Fable one of the most unique RPGs of the early 2000s. Next up, we have Avowed, coming to PC and Xbox on February 18th of 2025. Avowed looks like it's going to be one of the most interesting and promising open world games of 2025, and might be your best chance at scratching that Elder Scrolls itch until Bethesda's next title comes out. Since this game is built in Unreal Engine 5, it actually ends up looking quite gorgeous. Avowed is an upcoming action role-playing video game developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Xbox Game Studios. Avowed takes place in the same universe as Pillars of Eternity in the world of Eora. You might recognize Obsidian Entertainment as the developer behind Fallout New Vegas, The Outer Worlds, or Grounded. In Avowed, you are the envoy of Adir, a distant land, sent to investigate rumors of a spreading plague throughout the Living Lands. The Living Lands are an island full of mysteries and secrets, danger and adventure, and choices and consequences, and untamed wildernesses. You discover a personal connection to the Living Lands and an ancient secret that threatens to destroy everything. Can you save this unknown frontier and your soul from the forces threatening to tear them apart? The combat will mix and match swords, spells, guns, bows, and shields, and allow you to dig into your grimoire for spells to trap, freeze, or burn your enemies. Companions from a spread of species will fight alongside you, each with their own unique set of abilities. From a former mercenary to an eccentric wizard, they will be a part of your journey. Next up, from the same studio, is The Outer Worlds 2. 2025 is set to be a massive year for Obsidian, with them releasing 2 different AAA titles on the same calendar year. In Outer Worlds 2, as a daring Earth Directorate agent, you must uncover the source of devastating rifts threatening to destroy all of humanity. Your investigation leads to Arcadia, home of skip drive technology, where the fate of the colony and ultimately the entire galaxy rests on your decisions, your strengths, your flaws, your crew, and your factions that you choose to trust. Build your character with the abilities and the choices that reflect your playstyle. And that's what Obsidian games are becoming known for, is being able to play through the game your way. Do you want to play an incredibly intelligent character? You can. Do you want to be able to play an incredibly dumb character? They've got an ending built into the game for that as well. The colony reacts to your every move, crafting a narrative that's yours to own. If you're looking for a choice-driven space RPG, and the other ones you've played recently haven't quite lived up to your expectations, this could be an excellent one for you to try out. Next up, we have Death Stranding 2 by Kojima Productions, coming to PS5 and possibly other platforms. That's yet to be determined. In this game, you play as Sam, with companions by your side, and set out on a new journey to save humanity from extinction. We were given a nearly 10-minute trailer of this game, which gave us a lot of insight to the story and the world this game is going to take place in. The game will be a continuation of the story from Death Stranding 1, so if you liked that game, then you definitely got to jump into this one. The world needs Sam's help yet again, but this time, with your former entourage scattered, you're going to have to form a new one with a group known as Drawbridge. This is going to be a very, very story-driven title. Tons of dialogue, tons of cutscenes. So if you enjoy games that could also be described as interactive movies, then this Mindbender from Hideo is the perfect game for you to play this year. Next up, we've got Dune Awakening from Funcom, coming to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. At the time of this video, we don't quite have a release date just yet, but it's right around the corner. We know it's coming out very soon. Dune Awakening definitely leans into survival elements, but the developers have said they wanted this to be a blend of MMO and survival game. So it's going to have long-form progression inside of a massive sandbox open world. All in all, Dune Awakening is looking incredibly ambitious. It's building on decades of experience in both the MMO and survival genres that the studio has. It's going to have giant sandworms as a tension mechanic, meaning that you can't kill them. When they come, you're going to have to run. And notice that I said when, not if. The worms will come. You can use thumpers to bait them away from you, or perhaps to bait them into your enemies. The game is going to have a safe zone where you and your base are safe, and this will allow for your long-form progression. And then outside of this safe zone, you'll venture into the desert, and out there it's going to feel a lot more like Rust, where you'll build temporary bases that can be attacked and scavenged by enemy players. You'll use these forward operating bases to seek out the most valuable resources to take back to your main base. It's also out here where you're likely to kill or be killed by the other players hunting down those same resources. This game should be a lot of fun. It's got a great universe, great lore, great developers, and it looks gorgeous. And it sounds like it has some really cool and innovative systems in place. So count me in. Next up, we've got Light No Fire by Hello Games, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox in 2025. For those unaware, this is the same studio that made No Man's Sky, a game that launched very poorly, but after years of the developers relentlessly improving the game, it's now considered to be one of the best games out there. But as a result of No Man's Sky, a lot of people are asking the same question. Will we see that story repeat with Light No Fire, or will this game launch in a much better state? They're now 5 years into development and benefiting from everything they learned in No Man's Sky, so I'm predicting this game will launch in a much better place than No Man's Sky did. Still, it is an ambitious idea that is going to be hard to live up to, aiming to recreate a planet the size of Earth where players can roam anywhere. That's a lot of space for them to have to fill with engaging activities. Players can expect to be able to adventure, build, survive, and explore together. The game will be multiplayer, and it looks like it will have flying mounts, among which we've seen dragons. It's being described as having the depth of an RPG game and the freedom of a survival sandbox. Players will be able to construct persistent buildings and communities, or strike out alone and discover the world for others. The developers plan for Light No Fire to be a truly open world with no boundaries at a scale never attempted before. It's going to be tough to deliver on all of this, but if they can, it's going to be an amazing open world experience like nothing before. And those are the best open world games coming out in 2025. There are some absolutely heavy hitters that we're going to be talking about for decades to come. Are there any open world games that you think I missed? Let me know down in the comments below, and which one are you most excited to dive into? I would love to know. Massive shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thanks so much for watching. If you're not sure what to do next, check out this other video about these amazing RPGs popping up on screen right now.